When I'm mudlarking on the Thames foreshore, I often find remnants of London's wartime past washed out with the tide. This video is about one such find. It transported me back to World War II, and whilst researching it, I found myself face to face with some surprising facts which I had never been aware of before.
Just down here there is a tiny little lead animal, part of anyway, and I think it's part of a lead dog, missing a few limbs but still a dog. And it's quite well timed because I want to tell you about something which I found here in the same area a couple of weeks ago to do with a dog. So this is a good lead in to that story. I just lifted up this rock. I can see something just here that looks round, so I'm wondering if it's a coin. Could just be a plain piece of metal, but let's have a look. It's not a coin, that's for sure. It's like a little tag, look, it's got a hole in the top. Oh, how exciting. I hope we can read what's on it. I can see some writing, but can't make it out altogether, so I'll have to give it a careful clean to see what it says. Okay, watch this space, everyone. After my excited reaction of finding the round tag, I went home and didn't waste any time cleaning it up to see what it said on it. And so on this side here, it says round the edges, the Lucky Dogs Club. Call vet if hurt. Canine Defence, London, guaranteed fee on receipt of disc. And so I thought, okay, it's got to be a dog tag. But I didn't think I'd be lucky enough to find a name on the other side, and so I was absolutely delighted on closer examination when the dirt came off to see the name of Bonzo Tabner. And there was also an address, 21 Pelton Road, Greenwich, SE10. So we're looking at the dog tag that belonged to Bonzo Tabner of 21 Pelton Road, who was in the Lucky Dogs Club. So I set about to find out as much about Bonzo as I could.
When I started to research Bonzo, I came across a marvellous book by Clare Campbell called Bonzo's War, which she wrote about the plight of pets in Britain during World War II. In the book, she explained that Bonzo was one of the most popular names for a dog in the 1940s. An Englishman, George Studdy, created a cartoon dog, Bonzo, in 1922, which inspired a worldwide trend of naming dogs Bonzo at that time. The electoral register showed that a Tabner family had indeed lived at 21 Pelton Road since the early 1900s, and I was delighted to be able to trace Bonzo's owner, a lady now in her 80s. Bonzo was her first dog in the 1940s. Although I didn't actually speak to her, I did hear from her grandson, who relayed this information to me. He said, "She doesn't remember his breed, only that he was blonde. She spoke of remembering coming back from evacuation after the war to find him, and she remembered finding her mother had had to have him put down while she was dating my granddad, and how devastated she was. Not sure how his tag ended up in the river though." As I continued to read Clare Campbell's book, Bonzo's War, I discovered something sad that I'd never realised before. Due to a wave of panic caused by well-publicised advice from the government, it's estimated that over 750,000 animals, mostly cats and dogs, were put down in Britain over the course of 1 week at the start of the war. There were no rations for pets, and most air raid shelters would not allow them in. And so many people felt that they had no choice but to resort to euthanasia to prevent their pets from further suffering. Clare Campbell estimates that over the course of the war, 2.5 million pets were put down, and they have no official physical memorial. Like Bonzo Taverner's owner, I know how heartbreaking it is to lose a dog. Misha, our faithful Labrador mudlarking companion, died in 2015. Constantly wagging her tail, it brought a smile to my face when shortly after she died, I found in the Thames mud a vintage dog tag from the Tail Waggers Club, an animal charity created in 1929. My research about Bonzo led me to the Blue Cross Pet Cemetery in Shooters Hill, not far from where I live, where many pets belonging to World War I and World War II servicemen are buried. I decided to pay a visit. Finding Bonzo's dog tag has brought me to a little pet cemetery just down the road from where I live, which I didn't even know existed, and it's really moving going around looking at all the little plaques dedicated to past pets, most of whom died in the 1930s and 1940s. Yeah. Loving memory of our pal, Chummy, 1923. Memory of Dinah. This one. Loving memory of our darling little pet, Jummy, King Charles Spaniel, died 20th of February 1933. Another one here. In remembrance of my Ickety man, R.I.P., who died 1936. And I have found a Bonzo. Bonzo, our pal for 17 years, died 26th of February 1939. Right next to Popsy, who died in 1935. There's one here too. Flossie, August 23 to June 1939. From 6 weeks old we had her, but age crept on with time. A dear old girl that we loved so well, she'll always be in our mind. Our little, tiny, a priceless treasure. Oh, tiny, a priceless treasure. 1930 to 1937. It might seem a little morbid going around filming gravestones, but I just think it shows how much we do care about our animals. There's something very touching about that, despite the fact that so many pets were apparently put down at the beginning of World War II, and it must have been a horrific experience for any family that felt that they had to do that. Now, I've even found a little stone over here dedicated to Chippy, and Chippy isn't a dog, Chippy is a monkey, in loving memory of Chippy, our monkey, for 24 years. And then this poem, which I think can resonate with everybody who's had a dog and the dog has departed this life for the great lap in the sky. We could not, if we would forget each other, when in turn the dark shall glaze my eyes, your joyous bark will greet me, echoing to the sky. Till then, dear loving heart, goodbye.
When I found Bonzo Tabner's tag in the River Thames a month or so ago, I never imagined that it would bring me to this pet cemetery, but I'm very, very glad it did.
As it says in Bonzo's War, pets don't write memoirs, they can't. It's up to us to give them a voice. And for me, this mudlarking find has momentarily brought back to life these millions of pets who died in the war. So thanks for that, Bonzo Tabner. Good job.
So in honour of Bonzo and of Misha, our departed mudlarking companion, here are a few of our dog-related mudlarking finds from over the years.